But the man who's really coming good at the moment is this man here, David Valero, from the Climazia Orbea team. He has really just inched away at that top. He has a 5-point lead now over Wout Alleman. And I would expect Alleman, Páez and Valero to really try and absolutely stick to each other like glue today. It's a fine shot. Either very arty or somebody dropped the camera, one of the two. David Valero leads ahead of Wout Alleman. Leonardo Páez, the Colombian, in third spot. Then Stefano Goria, Samuele Porro. Good to see Geschke in the somewhere near the top. The Chilean. Fabian Rabensteiner would like to have done a little bit better, I think, and be down in the early 20s. And away go the men. This is earlier today, of course. Now, the men tend to start slightly differently to the women here, at least in my experience of this race, which is about 8 years now doing this. It really is. And surprisingly, there are quite a few that get out on the course, as well as watching the start and finish. But there's a big party atmosphere all day long in the center of Val Gardena. This then is the men's course, 86 kilometers, climbing up over Dante Chipias, say 14.3%. Really does test you out. Up to the Pralonga. The route that they take is a little steeper, 8.9%, and then you've got some pretty technically challenging stuff around the sides of these hills. Lots and lots of very rocky slopes up onto Terraces. 9.1 kilometers climbing all the way up, 8.6%. By this point, on the Giron, people will really, the men really want to be separated out into the group or single riders that they want to be with. They're really putting the hammer down towards the run in and the finish back in Selva Val Gardena. Again, this long swooping run across the hillsides, the edges of the mountains, running around the shoulder of the mountains, back into Selva Val Gardena. Six kilometers of pure torture. Back with the men earlier today. Oh, the women, sorry. And the men. I think they're just passing each other, some of them. And a pretty large group running over the top at Dante Chipias to start with. The Dutch champion, Smeenge, ahead of Diego Rosa. Wout Alleman in the top 5 there. See the Swiss rider Casey South. I think he was born in Canada actually, but in that top 10. Andres Seval in the top 10. Rabensteiner, such a great competitor for so many years, in 12th spot. Torriconi, who had a brilliant race in Elba, 16th, 1 minute and 22 seconds down. The Dutchman really piling on the pressure. I'm not sure I'd expect him to be there in 2 or 3 passes time, but you never know. You can just see how incredibly steep this is for a first climb. I mean, it really does go either way at this point. Either, whoa, look at that. Excellent. What we like to see. Well, he certainly wants to make his mark, doesn't he? In Smeenge from the Netherlands. Punching in over the front of those bars yesterday, wanting to really put the hammer down and pull out as much of a lead as he could. They didn't let him. There is David Valero, look, already on the wheel. But they are really trying hard, pushing really hard. Wout Alleman goes through the shot. That looks like Páez. Real battle. Yeah, these men here. David Valero, Wout Alleman, and Leonardo Páez all together here, by the look of it. And in fact, the men on the tabla not too distant from each other at the moment. The top 9 are all pretty closely packed together, and they will be watching each other. And I would say the pace is pretty brisk. Alleman in the middle, in the Belgian champions jersey, you can see. Páez at the... Páez? No, it's not Páez at the back. Valero at the front of this little group. Smeenge, the Dutchman goes through your shot. Valero now has gone to the front of that group ahead of Leonardo Páez and Wout Alleman at 7 seconds. Keep an eye on those 3. Those are the ones who really need to keep an eye on at the moment. There is only, what, there's less than 10 points separating the top 2. And remember, there's 250 points for a victory. And the bikes drift underneath as we see the men's race live on the right-hand side. So a quick shot of David Valero, the current World Cup leader. And there we are, we're going to go live with the men's now. This is the leading group. Tepki is the next rider back from the leading group. Wout Alleman has lost time. 1 minute and 20 seconds. Páez. It's Valero. Smeenge from the Netherlands, who's clawed his way back up again, and Diego Rosa, the Italian, in that top 4. See the Dutchman at the back there. Páez closest to you, the white helmet with the darker red and grey of the Lee Coogan squad. In the red, just in second spot now, is the current World Cup leader. And Diego Rosa, the other rider, in the orange at the front. Well, these 4 seem to be riding nicely together. Not necessarily pushing super hard at this point. And maybe Cerci can get back. Good ride by Rosa. Dutch national champion just taking his turn coming through here. Rosa has taken a turn on the front. This is where you do see a little bit of a ride, slightly like a road race. You've got these 4 riders working together. They will work on and off at the front. Because surprisingly, you still get, well, I should say unsurprising, you still get wind resistance. Valero, Páez, Smeenge, and Rosa. The top 4 riders, 2 way up in the standings and 2 not way up in the standings. Great ride by Tim Smeenge, 24th overall in the World Cup standings. Diego Rosa even better. Just 54 points to his name. It's trying to bridge that gap. Riding quite hard. He seems to be just eating away at it. 25 seconds has now come down to 20 seconds. But, you know, when you've got 4 riders working together, they just have to do a little turn on the front, little turn on the front, little turn on the front. But you can see, just under the graphic, there we are. You can see that Cerci has them in the sights. Look. You can physically see them up the road. And if he notices he's just chipping away, that will give him a huge amount of heart. And I think he is going to catch them pretty quickly now. None of these four riders in the front really want to take the initiative here. I mean, this is good for the World Cup leader David Valero, who's got himself in the leading group. He's got Leonardo Páez with him. Páez is third in the championship, but he's 94 points behind in the World Cup standings. So there's still a comfortable gap between Valero and Páez. Páez would love to win this. He's won it 8 times already. But the other two riders are way down in the World Cup standings at the moment. Diego Rosa with only 54 points. I mean, if he were to win, it would catapult him up way up the leaderboard. In fact, he'd probably end up somewhere in the top 10, which is great. The same for Tim Smeenge. To work hard, to try and stay ahead, to keep pushing on so that they can get a place on the podium in this prestigious race and get the points. Whereas Valero and Páez, yes, they want the points, yes, they want the win, but do they want it quite as much as the other two riders in that group, who may or may not have expected to have been there? This is Wout Alleman. Alleman at 55 seconds. But again, it's about positions, not always about being on the podium. Points are on offer. He has to try and stay in touch. Only 5 points down in the standings, below David Valero, who just overhauled him in the last race. Well, Alleman was the leading rider. He was turning a huge gear there for a minute. Is it going to be Alleman stay? He has to at least maintain this position. Diego Rosa on the front. Páez in second spot, Colombian. An 8 times winner of this particular race. Currently lying third. He was third in the World Championships last year, Páez, but he has won the World Championship twice. Still at the very top of his game as he goes to the front to push on a little bit harder. He won the World Championships back-to-back in 2019 and 2020. And I think much as he loves being a world champion, oddly, this is the race he really loves as they're climbing up towards the Giron. Now, Tiachi still hammering away, isn't he? Trying to close that gap, which I think it's just eked out a little bit more again. Maybe Páez has pushed the pressure on a little bit. That's so demoralizing for somebody who's chasing, and you can see that you're closing the gap and then the guys in the front get back on the pace. Alleman still holding the gap at a minute. There's a particular mindset to racing these marathon races, and anybody who has ever raced one or used to race mountain bike back in the day, back up to the sort of almost the late 90s, when longer races were standard. This sort of Olympic format mountain bike race now is very short, very technical, very fast, and it has become a spectacular thing to watch, and it's great for television, of course. This is very much like the roots of mountain biking. You could almost transfer yourself back to Big Bear or something, or Mammoth Mountain back in the late 80s, early 90s in the United States of America, because this is what it was about, these big, long races over long fire roads on the front. And you can see the two riders chasing and trying to stay in touch, and it is the Dutchman who's putting the hammer down. Pushing on, pushing on. You can see it's his day today. And again, another rider who took the pace up very early on. And clearly, as they say in Europe, had a good sensation in his legs, felt good. He's been able to be up there all the time. Diego Rosa, going through your shot, started 62nd overall today. This is Selva Val. Three minutes down. Andres Selva Val. Winner here previously. Well, Chachi has lost a lot of time there now. The Dutchman and the current World Cup leader pushing on. And the question is, will the other two just behind them, 10 seconds down, will they be able to close that gap? They could do. They could do it easily on a descent. It's not very much. David Valero started with a 5-point lead over Wout Alleman this morning, and a 90-point lead, 94-point lead actually, over Leonardo Páez. So today, if Alleman stays where he is further down the field, he can still amass the points. He might well stay second. Leonardo Páez could overhaul him, but he will want to try and get on that podium. He want to win this race if he possibly can. Big losers in terms of time today: Stefano Guerrea, Samuele Porro, Andres Selva Val we've seen riding better than he's did in the last round. '24th this morning, that man in the Dutch champions jersey, when he started off, had 156 points. He will catapult himself well into the top 10, possibly into the top 5 if he were to take victory here today. But the thing that's best, well, the person who's done best so far out of this today has been David Valero. He's taken his form from Andorra and he's brought it over to here in the Dolomites. He's going to finish on the podium. He may well win and extend his lead at the top of the World Cup standings. It'll be interesting to see what happens to our riders who've done a little bit better than they would expect them. Rosa van Doorn, for example, we've got 2 more races: the Black Forest Ultra Bike Marathon and La Trauman Sea Otter Europe. Obviously the mountain bike marathon in Kirchgarten in Germany, the Sea Otter Europe in Girona on the Costa Brava in Spain, home of countless professional bike riders. It's one of the meccas. I mean, in the 1990s it was in northern Italy, and as you moved into the 2000s, most professional bike riders seemed to congregate around Girona. There's a little community there. This is the Italian parachute regiment. That's fantastic. They really put on a show here. They absolutely do. They love it. This being broadcast all over the world. All 5 continents are taking this on the official UCI YouTube channel. 2 stations in North America. Chile and Peru, South Africa, Uganda, Rwanda, Hong Kong, South Korea, Oceania. They're all enjoying the spectacle of what is the toughest race in the world. And they're enjoying it. We've got good uniforms, haven't they? Plenty of medals. know what the medals are for, but they've always got plenty of them. This is the actually not. If you look at it, it's not actually the parachute. It's the cabinieri, isn't it? They've got their own parachute. Well, they are a military police force, of course. Interestingly, unlike if you're watching the UK or maybe in the United States, the cabinieri, a bit like the gendarmerie in France, are military police forces. They're not civilian police forces, not civil police forces. You have civil police forces as well, but they run in tandem. I wonder how hard that is, parachuting with a big flag behind you. It's bound to catch the wind, isn't it? Must make steering quite difficult. Brilliant. You wouldn't want to drop it, would you? 150 square meters, those flags are. And there we go. You've got to clear the entire area to get there. It's the parachuting sport arm of the cabinieri. I suppose they've gone through all their basic training and they've specialized in parachutes. Well, this is interesting because that is Leonardo Páez on the right-hand side, and this is Tim Smeenge on the left-hand side. And the question is, has he shot his bolt? Because suddenly he looks like he's gone boom to me. Head's wobbling a little bit. Páez has piled past him on what is a steep climb. And the Dutchman, from riding so well, looks like he might be in a little bit of trouble. David Valero has gone up the road, or up the track. 15 seconds the gap now over Páez. Smeenge is going to have to really dig in to try and keep on this wheel for Páez, because he's inching back up. But Valero has put the hammer down at the front, and the Dutchman has just dropped away. Couldn't stay with him. This is good for Leonardo Páez, because he's seen the move. He's noticed that they weren't that far behind, so they will have them in visuals. Valero, you can see, just to the left of center of screen, there's a motorcycle following him, and Páez is going to try and hunt him down. Diego Rosa still there. 25 seconds, and these four are going to battle it right the way to the finish. I think it's going to be too tough for Rosa to do, and the race looks to me like it's going to come down to Valero and Páez. The question is, has Tim Smeenge just really left it all on the road, or has he just had a tiny blip where he really just needs to sort of gather himself together and try and hang on to the rear wheel of Leonardo Páez, because Páez is going to chase. There's no doubt about that. Great riding from Valero. 20 seconds now seems to be the gap between Páez and Smeenge. And Rosa back at 34 seconds. To go over the Zallinger, we're now heading in towards the finish. Oh, Valero just lets the rear wheel kick out just a little bit. This is going to come down to bravery. Absolutely going to come down to bravery. Now, Valero, excellent all-round rider. We know how good Páez is at descending. He's really ridden beautifully over the last sections of this race. in previous years, and we'll just have to see whether he has the ability to just go that little bit faster, push that a little bit wider. Those tires to try and dig in a bit harder on corners. Valero will know he's got absolutely nowhere to hide. He really has to push as hard as he can. He's in the highest gear he can get. He's just going to pedal. Oh, taking the widest line he possibly can through an area which is quite slippery. Looks comfortable at the moment, I have to say. We've said it so many times in mountain bike racing, especially on these marathon courses, but riders have such different styles that sometimes riders could look like they're riding very fast indeed downhill. And actually, it's just the way they look, because their body moves around, their arms and legs are sort of pumping up and down, able to sort of take in the shock absorption. Sometimes one looks fast, another one looks slow, and that might not be the case at all. Well, well done to Tim Smeenge. He's managed to hang in there. Doesn't look to me as though these two are going fast enough. Valero pedaling hard at this point. And this is what will happen. If you don't get on the gas and start to try and pedal downhill, then it'll be more and more difficult to close that gap. Got to keep the speed up. Obviously, if it gets too fast, you're not going to be able to keep that up. Oh, knee out, just trying to correct the balance. Páez is definitely pushing. 30 seconds is the gap. Diego Rosa, fantastic ride by him today. Started way down the field. Just got to hold it together. But he'll also know that there's only 10 seconds separating him from riders in front. He won't know exactly where they are, but he will know that they're not that far ahead. And he's got a chance of a podium here. This is going to be an absolutely cracking finish. We had a brilliant one with Anna Weinbeer, just inching up on Paula Grete Kurman, just missing out on a third spot. Now you've got a battle here where the top four riders are only separated by 40 seconds. There's 9 kilometers to go to the finish. A lot of it quite technical through either descending or single track. You need to get into the single track off the tarmac in first spot. Whoa, whoa! Lovely bit of two-wheel drift. And the Dutchman finding his rhythm in these longer, wider sections, and Páez, he's the one now having to do the chasing. Well, I think he's gathered himself together, Tim Smeenge, and decided that, yep, I've still got it there. Often just needs to take that little bit of a breather. It's a very difficult game to play. You've got to have the breather, because you'll just blow up completely. But you can't see too much time. But when the going gets very technical downhill, Páez, I would suggest it's the faster rider, but on this here, the Dutchman is pushing absolutely flat out. Last time check would suggest he's not taking anything out of David Valero at the moment. Both of these riders will now be thinking, well, I've got the chance of second on the podium here. We want second, but also they still will be thinking there's an outside chance of cutting that 30 seconds down in 8 kilometers to our lead rider. And anything can happen in these races. You just need to overstep the mark very, very slightly. Get offline, clip something in the road, and you'll be gone. Páez doesn't look very happy here. I thought he looked the stronger rider earlier. He doesn't look as though he's comfortable. Flicks the rear of that bike round. I mean, he's such a magnificent competitor, but the Dutchman is definitely pulled away. 35 seconds now, the gap between Serrano on your left-hand side and these two riders here. Páez out the saddle. Has he got a mechanical? He has got a mechanical. Well, maybe that was it. Oh, and Rosa is going to go past him. Páez has lost third spot. And Diego Rosa will not be able to believe his luck. In the last 8 kilometers, he's gone past the 8-time winner of this race. While Páez is a fierce competitor, he will not want to be off the podium. Something going on here. Looking down, pretty unclear actually to what exactly is going on here. Looking at the tyre, he's not. That's difficult to tell what that is. But something definitely amiss. And Diego Rosa has now just 10 seconds to make up on this man here. Can he do it? 20 seconds now, the gap between Serrano and Smeenge, and the Dutchman is absolutely flying. This is going to be a super close finish again. He's using all the advantages he has in being able to ride on this sort of flattish, fast surface. 20 seconds now, the gap between the World Cup leader, David Valero, and the Dutch champion. And these are the closest finishes, or some of the closest podium finishes we've seen in this race for a long, long time. Just 30 seconds between the top 3 riders, 6 kilometers to go. Páez has lost 20 seconds, he's off the podium now. And I very much doubt there's a way back from there. 50 seconds down on Serrano, 20 seconds down on Rosa. Smeenge, who started 156 points this morning, 24th overall. And Diego Rosa starting 62nd in the World Cup standings with just 54 points. This is going to be a real cliffhanger of a finish. Valero is a very canny, wily rider. He's in top form. Won in the last round in Natureland Andorra. And here he is. There's a 20-second gap, but actually, again, to me, he looks a little bit like he's getting tired. He knows he can't afford to slow down in any way whatsoever. He knows there'll be riders behind him. He's ridden nearly the entire race with 4 men. He's looking over his shoulder and he's worried. And I don't blame him being worried, because this man is absolutely flying. Look at him. Big, strong rider. he too is looking over his shoulder because he knows Rosa's back there. He must be able to see them soon. Where is Rosa? Well, you can, Smeenge just can't quite see round the corner. Oh, my word! Come on, Diego. That's fantastic. He's so close. and he knows this will be the best performance of the year for him. And he's pushing and pushing and pushing, and the Dutchman is just tantalizingly out of reach. Oh, this is going to be so close. And the motorbike having to go around the outside of people who've just stopped in the middle, out walking their dog, going, what the hell is going on? Smeenge looking over his shoulder. On who's up ahead, which is David Valero. Valero can only hope that these two will be looking at each other so much that he might be able to gain a bit more ground. But the fact is, they're fighting each other. They're going to be riding as hard as they can. And by definition, they're going to be eating up a little bit all the time on Serrano, unless Serrano has pulled something extra out the bag and he was just holding himself, keeping his powder dry. Here he is in this technical single track. Cannot afford to lose it now. Páez back at 55 seconds now, and Rosa is definitely catching him. He's not going to let it go. He wants to get in to the single track before the Dutchman. What an incredible comeback ride from Rosa. He bobbed off the back. He lost nearly a minute at one point. And these two riders, who you might not have expected to be up here on podium positions, are now really fighting. Well, that's not going to play into the hands of Rosa very much. He won't like that. The camera bike has gone behind Smeenge, and that is going to, that's going to cause a problem in this. Páez at 55 seconds. 25 seconds now back the gap. So Serrano, Valero does seem to have seen the danger. I tell you what, if I was Diego Rosa, I would not be happy that that motorbike had taken up that position. I would have much preferred him to slip in behind me, because I'm chasing the man in front. I've now got to get past two things. The motorbike will just have to get out of the way if he realizes that there's a real chance that Diego Rosa is going to catch that Dutchman. Meanwhile, we're back with the leader, the red jersey of the current champion, and Diego Rosa has got past the bike and past Smeenge. This is incredible. You hardly ever see this in this race. This is an absolutely bare-knuckle brawl for second and third. Brilliant riding by the Italian and by the Dutchman, I have to say. Can only hope now, Tim Smeenge, that he can just hold on to that wheel. And the pace will now be dictated by Diego Rosa there, because Rosa has taken that second spot on the road. And you have to flip it around in your head. If you are Tim Smeenge, you've got to flip it around your head and go, right, I've lost that second spot, I've been caught. I just now have to stick behind Rosa, because Rosa's going to have to make the pace. Rosa's going to have to decide what he wants to do. Does he want to chase down David Serrano? Does he just want to stay ahead of Páez? Does he just want to stay ahead of me? Whenever you're in this sort of situation, you're always looking to turn a disadvantage into a mental advantage. Because if you don't, that's the end of your race. You're shelled out the back, your head goes to pieces, you're not in the right place, and you can't do it anymore. Smeenge is going to attack again. He's going to go around the outside, is he? Wants to push the pace on a little bit. He knows now this is going to be a fight to the finish with Rosa, but they still have to work. They've lost more time on David Valero. "40 seconds. Good riding by the current World Cup leader. 3 kilometers to go. 40 seconds is a big ask in 3 kilometers. But the question is is anybody gonna crack from these two? They need to stay away. They need to push because they need to stay away from Leonardo Páez. And Diego Rosa pulls out 3-4 bike lengths just on this little bit of descent. He's going to have trouble losing Smeenge at this point. Back with our leader, Valero has 40 seconds advantage. One in Nurcherland, Andorra. Last round of the World Cup. And remember, we've got Black Forest Ultra Bike Marathon on the 26th of July. And then a big gap, actually, to the 20th of September, Ciotta Europe. So he wants to go into this little break between now and the 26th of July with a commanding lead, which he will do. 40 seconds the gap over the two chasing riders, and Valero has found that extra speed. He wants to secure victory here. He doesn't want to leave anything to chance. Another great race by this man. Timed his attacks perfectly. Up with the Giron, just pulling out 26. He's been aided, I have to say, by some riders. Smeenge has ridden so hard and has been instrumental in some of the breaks that cracked up this group. Oh! Push, 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 push. Diego Rosa is trying his absolute hardest, a little bit more technical here. But I'm surprised he's managed to pull out. He's looking over his shoulder. He's got, what, 20 bike lengths, 25 bike lengths over Smeenge. This is an absolute pitch battle for this second and third spot, and he's not going to give it up, the Dutchman. They're in the final kilometer. Running down towards the finish, David Valero. 40 seconds of a gap. He's safe now for his win, as long as a disaster doesn't strike, but he's looks safe here. Looks composed. Running down into Selva Val Gardena. Onto the tarmac, back onto single track. Towards that left-hand hairpin. Beautifully smooth. What an absolute corker of a battle for second and third, though. There is Rosa on the left-hand side of your screen. And what a ride. That is a brilliant ride by the Italian. And the Dutchman, I think, is just going to have to settle. Is he? He's not going to settle for third. Oh, my word! I don't believe it! I do not believe it. Oh no, I thought that was, for a minute, I thought that was for Rosa. It wasn't. There's our winner, Valero. Valero is coming home to take victory. 2 in a row for David Valero. Here's the question, Who's going to come home second and third? Brilliant win for the Spaniard. Very tactical game. But there's only a handful of seconds back to our second and third placement. I actually thought for a minute, a little break up in picture, that the Dutchman, Tim Smeenge, had overtaken Rosa, but I think it was just somebody from the women's race, actually. Still out there. There is Rosa. There's Smeenge. It is going to be second and third. The Italian taking second spot. That is such a great race for him. Well done, Diego. Brilliant. And Smeenge coming home in third spot. That was a cracking finish. That is the closest finish we've seen in a long, long time. There's Leonardo Páez. just off the podium for Páez. He knows that that was a really close race today. 8 times the winner here, twice a world champion. Congratulates Valero. Now, first 4 men separated by around a minute. The Lee Coogan rider, double world champion Leonardo Páez. You have to keep wondering, how long can he sustain this? I think he's 37 now. How long can he sustain this sort of level of competition? He's just an amazing athlete all round. Ride of the day, one of the rides of the day, I have to say, he just pips Smeenge, doesn't he? But magnificent ride. Great win then for Valero. 2 in a row for the Spaniard, and he goes into this short break before the next round of Black Forest Ultrabike Marathon, firmly at the top of the World Cup standings. Well, to get in the top 3 in this race is a massive, massive achievement. He looks slightly, slightly bemused or taken aback that he's actually done so well. And the fact that I think he was just gesturing that it was to and fro, to and fro. Hey! Congratulations for Valero. Well, he has to sort of maintain his lead, but Wout Alleman is the big loser today. And Alleman will still come in the top 10 and therefore get a decent number of points, but no podium for Wout Alleman today. This is Chichi. He rode with the top 4 for quite a while, got to within 15 seconds, but then at the end of the day, just was distanced. There comes a time, isn't it, when you have to think, right, I'm going to ride for myself. So Dario Cecchi keeping a good number of points in the bag. Started 10th, Cecchi, so it's good for him. Lee Coogan had a good day today as a team. He's quite a sort of sanguine rider, sanguine athlete, should I say. It's Leonardo Páez. He knows it's not going to always be his day. This is Wout Alleman. And you can see what I mean about points. Points mean prizes, you know. He's going to finish 6th, and he's going to finish a fair way down from the podium times. 4 minutes and 42 seconds down. The fact that he's finished 6th means the points are up there, which is good. It really is the most spectacular venue for a bike race, especially a mountain bike race, and the TV coverage has been superb this year, by far the best we've seen in the long and illustrious history of covering this race. And that it is looking down on the run into the finish line there. And the waters from the top of the Dolomites flow down through that little culvert, as you can see, running underneath the bridge where the red carpet is. And that's the square or semicircle. Now the European champion, again, consistent, but not right up there. Andres Seval, the former winner here in the Hero Dolomites. Been a hot and dusty day, as you can see. The white jersey of the European champion, a bit more sort of greyish. That's a good ride by Thomas Piazza. As though he's happy. That's a great ride by Serrano, as you can see. He was yo-yoing off the front. A number of riders with him, Diego Rosa, Smeenge, and Páez, certainly for the first half of the race, and then Páez just losing out in the second half, as did Dario Cecchi and Val Vallerman. So you can see the pattern of the race. Riders at the start, in the first half, first half, and then the second half, just the three riders pushing away. From the women's race, and Samuele Porro finishing just in the top 10, which is good. He was 5th overall, so he needed to keep the points going. Riders at the top 10, we haven't seen Dorigoni. Dorigoni had a very, very good race in Elba and amassed his 250 points for a win in Elba, but hasn't been around today at all. We saw him off the pace very early on. Well, everybody's super happy. It is a race and a series that really, a bit like gravel biking, everybody has a really good time.
In the second place, representing Italy, Diego.
I like the mountain goats. I have one of those sitting on the mantelpiece at home, alongside the coup from the World Championships in Glasgow. Two of them just sit there. Magnificent ride by Diego Rosa.
The fourth stage of Hero UCI Marathon World Cup, representing Spain, Valero Serrano.
Great ride by Valero. Magnificent. He can put his Spanish champions jersey on at this point, and he'll have to put the leaders jersey on in just a second. Anna Weinbeer will keep the red leaders jersey for the overall standings in the women's.
As well by Patrizia Aste, CEO of Norcane Italia, with the Norcane UCI Hero watch.
Well, you're going to watch. David Valero's got 2 now. Well, congratulations once again to David Valero. Takes back-to-back wins in Andorra and here in the Dolomites, and a brilliant ride by the other two. Not only was it hammer and tongs all the way for at least 4 riders, but they provided such a spectacle.
Hero Marathon World Cup here on the full stage. Congratulations to the winners, Team Smeenge in the 3rd place.
Terrific racing. We move to Black Forest Ultra Bike Marathon in Kirchgarten in Germany on the 26th of July, and then the final round of the Hero Marathon World Cup is at La Troman Sea Otter Europe in Girona on the Costa Brava in Spain. This man will want to get there in the leader's jersey. But the fortunes of the other 2 riders completely changed today. The 2 big winners in terms of points. Diego Rosa, who will catapult himself into the top 20. And Tim Smeenge, who's 24th this morning, will go into the top 10, the Dutch champion. And suddenly, it seems like a completely different prospect, doesn't it? Suddenly, you've gone from being one of the riders in the midfield to somewhere up at the top 10, and looking at a potential tilt at a top 3 in the Marathon World Cup. Well, the weather stayed good for them. You can see there had been a little bit of rain. There was standing water on the sides of some of the tracks, which could have caused a problem, didn't. Well, for sure, training at altitude helps. This is where Leonardo Páez has always done so very, very well, because, of course, he's from Colombia and goes back there regularly to a bit of training. And riding in altitude, of course, means that you can deal with that thin air a lot better, and it is pretty high, this race.